All right, guys, before we start looking at actual bags of stuff, let's talk about what's out there, because there is a plethora of things out there and so much marketing jargon. It's really easy to get confused. So I made this little chart to help explain things at a high level. So at the top is the most expensive, at the bottom is the least expensive, and as you go top left to bottom right, you go from the most organic and compost material to the bottom right. You have the most topsoil and more filler. So potting mix is usually going to be the most expensive of all the bagged products because it has the most compost and organic matter, typically peat moss here in North America. You also have potting soil, which is typically something you would put in ground. Anything with the term soil typically will go in ground. Not always. Sometimes you can mix in raised beds a little bit of potting soil or even topsoil. Then you have raised bed mix kind of in the middle there. It has some filler in it. Sometimes you'll get a lot of filler. You just have to check it and see. Garden soil, again, it's got the word soil, probably goes in the ground. And then at the very bottom is the least nutritious, and it's just topsoil straight off the top of the dirt at the vendor where they get it, and it's going to be the cheapest as well. So that's really the high level of it. So when you go in and you start looking at all these names, and there's going to be, like I said, a lot of marketing on these bags, and including organic and everything else. So take that in stride, and don't let the price fool you necessarily. You want to get something that's going to fit your budget, is going to get the job done based on your type of garden. We're doing container garden, so that's why we're looking at potting mix strictly. Here's some stay green stuff that I was looking, and this is actually what I ended up buying. It was, for to me, the best bang for the buck because it's 64 quarts, pretty big bag. These smaller bags, there's Miracle Grow potting mix, it's on sale, but even on sale, the other bag of stay green was a better bang for the dollar. And then I just go down the thing here. There's the small bags of stay green, and you'll just see all these different things, including lawn soil, which you don't want to get, and then you'll get into organic versions of potting mixes. There's some right there. And organic typically raises the price. So organic is not necessarily better, but a lot of people just want to stay with organic because they think it is better. There's some more organic stuff, and $8.58 a bag. Those are the small bags. And then here we got some more garden soil. Again, that would be more for in the ground gardening type stuff. And the reason you want to stay away from soil, it's it compacts really easy, and it prevents air and drainage to get through the soil, which is very important. So anytime you got a container garden, you want something light and fluffy, loamy, and that's why a lot of people will amend their potting mix. I typically will make my own potting mix, and it is cheaper in the long run if you're doing a large garden. We're doing small garden here. We're going to end up with 10 containers, so it doesn't make sense to buy a 2 or 3 cubic foot of a bale of peat moss and buy all the amendments that go with it. We're here to prove that you can go down to the store, big box store, buy a bag of potting mix that's middle grade, and add some compost to it, and then you'll have to fertilize, of course, as the plants begin to grow, and fertilize them in the beginning, of course. Anytime you get to the specialized mixes, don't worry about that. There's not very much difference between these guys. Again, marketing, people buy it, they're going to sell it. So $10 a bag for that. That is lawn soil. Again, we wouldn't want to use that. So here I am back at the house. I bought my stuff. You can see I got some black cow there in the back. That was my compost that I chose. It is composted cow manure. I've used it quite a bit, and I've always had success with it. And some people don't care for it. There's a lot of different composts. You can do mushroom, you can do humus, and like I said, there's a whole other section on compost over there. So all I'm going to do is take these two. I'm going to take one bag of the potting mix, put in the wheelbarrow, and then I'm going to add one bag, which is 1 cubic foot, of the black cow composted cow manure. And that's going to be our mix. So, you know, again, if you're doing a small garden, don't invest too much if you're just trying to see if it's something you want to do. And it also depends a little bit on what you're going to be growing. Obviously, we're doing vegetables. So let's see how this potting mix looks after I get it poured out of the bag here. All right, so pour it out. As you can see, there's some chunks in there. That's what I mean by filler. You'll see all the sticks. Sometimes it's shredded bark. It's all kinds of stuff that can be in there. And this is, like I said, this is probably middle grade. The big box stores do not carry the real high-end stuff like Pro Mix. You'll have to get that at a nursery or a landscaping company or get it online. But just looking through that, you know, it's not real dark and rich looking. And, you know, that's okay. We're going to put compost in here. But you can see some of the sticks and bark and chips, wood chips in there. And sometimes you'll run across a big stick in there or something. And that happened to me. So I'm walking over here to show you what I pulled out of there. And you can see that's just a piece of wood that was found in there. So you don't want that. Pick out anything that's obviously not supposed to be in there. And if you're real anal and you just don't like that, you can sift that through a hardware cloth, like a 1/4 inch or 3/8 inch hardware cloth, to get rid of the big wood chips. The only problem with that is you're going to lose, you know, probably a third of your volume of your material. Now you can put that in a compost pile somewhere and be fine. But some wood chips is not bad. It's going to help make aeration in the soil and you know, allow water to drain as well. So now I'm going to add the black cow manure, and it's been around forever. There's a lot of gardeners that use this. A lot of YouTube gardeners use this as well. It's readily available. It's always at the store, so it's nice. It's pretty consistent in its quality. I've had a couple of bags or a few bags of this that I wasn't real happy with, but you know, I think it's just bad quality control on that lot or whatever. But it is composted. It's ready to be used. There's no smell to it. So, and it's not very expensive. You know, it's like $6 a bag or something like that. So break it up. Now you don't want to get this stuff wet. Don't let your bag get wet because it'll harden up pretty good and you'll have to break it up. Then you just mix it in. So let's mix it all in and let's see what happens when we get it all done. It is all mixed up. It probably doesn't look too different to the naked eye on this video. But there really is a difference. There's a lot more volume to it. Again, still a lot of chips, and I don't see a lot of shredded bark in this, which is good. But you do have some sticks and wood chips mainly. But that's what we're going to use. And again, this is pretty cheap to do, so that's what we're trying to do, is save money, make a decent soil for our plants to grow in, and we're going to see how well that does without doing all the amending that I would typically do if I was making my own, where I would add some perlite, bone meal, and we'll talk about those in another video, but there's a ton of stuff you can add to this. So here are my plants. After I filled my grow bags, I just got a shovel and put them in there, filled them up. I left some room at the top for some mulch. You always want to mulch, but so those are celebrity tomatoes right there in the beginning. And so I filled 10 bags And what I ended up doing is I used a full bag of black cow and the potting mix, and then I used a half a bag of the potting mix and a half a bag of the next, the other black cow. So that allowed me to get my 10 bags in, just as a reference so that you know how much you might need. Those are 5-gallon grow bags, pretty standard. I typically use 7, but I had these 5 gallons, so that's what I used, and I wanted to try them because previously with my 7-gallon, I noticed on my tomatoes I wasn't utilizing the whole bag with the root system. So that's what we're going to do, is try it with the 5-gallon bag. So now I'm getting ready to prep the plants to be planted, and what that means is I'm going to prune these lower leaves off on there, and I'll do this on all the plants, the tomatoes and the peppers. Now, I'm not going to plant these real deep. You can plant them a little deep if you want. I'm not one to dig a hole to China and put it in there. But I'm going to go down the whole line here, and I'm going to do the same thing. I might prune the tomatoes a little more than the peppers, but it's not a huge amount like some gardeners do. If you like doing that, that's fine. We'll talk about the adventitious roots on the tomato plants. One thing you do need to know is peppers are not like tomatoes. Planting a pepper deep is not going to work. In fact, it could kill the plant. It's got a woody stem. It doesn't have that fleshy stem with the little bumps on it, which is where the adventitious roots form if they are in the soil. So I'm just going to go down the line here and do that. And I'm also going to be adding some Garden Tone granular fertilizer. It's organic fertilizer. And I'm not doing this on every plant, but every plant where I have 2 of the same, which is these celebrity tomatoes here in the front, I'm going to put granular fertilizer in one of them, and the other one I'm not. And we're going to see as these grow if there's a difference. And you typically use 3 to 4 tablespoons per 5-gallon bag. I've used it so much, I know a handful is pretty close, so that's just how I do it. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It doesn't have to be exact. So that's what I just put in there. So now I'm going to stir that in at the top there where I'm going to be planting it. I don't put it in the hole right up against the roots. I just don't like doing that. So I mix it in there at the top with my trowel, and then I'll pull in, dig a hole and plant the plant. So I got that mixed there. What I'm doing right now is kind of contouring that mix, but here, after I get this planted, I'll kind of show you. Here the roots are a little root bound, so I'm breaking up that bottom to give those roots some relief from that. And now I'm just sticking my hand down there, pushing the soil to one side, and then dropping the plant in there, and then I'll just backfill the soil that I pushed. And this is where I will really contour it so that the soil in the bag is higher on the edges than in the middle, so that when you water, the water will naturally go to the center of the plant instead of running off the edges. And this is something I discuss in a few of my videos. This is just something that helps contain the water and let the water penetrate the soil so that the roots are getting watered. Many times the water will go straight to the edge, go down the edge of the grow bag and drain out, and you're not even getting any water to the roots. So something to keep in mind when you're planting. So I got the second one going. Notice I didn't put any fertilizer in this one, so this one's not going to get the granular fertilizer. I'm just digging a hole, dropping the plant, and filling the soil in around it and contouring it like I just talked about. Alright, so I'm just going to speed it up here. I'm going to be doing the same thing here. I'm applying that granular fertilizer to the next one. I believe that is the grape tomato. So I'm doing the exact same thing as I go down. And as we get to the pepper here, I'm going to show you that I'm going to be trimming those leaves off as well. So here's the pepper, and you can see the leaves at the bottom there. I'm snipping those off. But again, I will not be planting this deep. That is a Snackabell mini bell pepper. I've never grown them before, but they look fun. So I just cleaned that up so the leaves wouldn't be on the ground up against the soil line. And I'm going to plant it just as deep as the pot is. So again, these do not grow adventitious roots. They do have a special thing in the stem that can produce some adventitious roots when it's very, very stressed. But that's not the same as what the tomato has. So again, I'm just putting it in there like the rest of them, and make sure I pack down the soil after I get it in there to get rid of any air pockets, and then we'll just go from the same thing here and going down the line. So I'm not going to, show all of that. But anywhere I have two of the same plants, one's getting the granule fertilizer, the other one isn't, and trimming the limbs off the bottom of the leaves off the bottom of the plants as I plant them, just like I showed you, and getting them planted. So when I'm done, this is what they look like when I was done. They got tags, the original tags that came with the transplants are in there, and you'll see those white tags in the back. Those are the ones that got the granular fertilizer. So there's pepper, that looks like a shishito. That one needs a little support, and that's something we're going to have to do, is work on that. All right, so now all we got to do is just water it in, and I'm going to each one, of course, and doing a top water, making sure that top section gets watered pretty good. Again, the way that we did the soil to make sure the perimeter of the soil line is higher than the center of the soil allows the water to naturally drain towards the center. You're still going to get a little bit of water draining out the sides of these bags. That's just grow bagging 101. But so give them a good drink from the top. Remember, we didn't dampen this soil or water the soil before we planted, so this is pretty dry. And now I'm going to fill up the saucers that each bag's sitting on. It's pretty hot out there today, and we were going to have a few days of 90s, sunshine and 90s. So I wanted to make sure they had plenty of water, and the water on the bottom will wick up and saturate the soil from the bottom. So they're getting it from both sides, and it's going to need it in the heat. And here's a look at those guys. They look pretty good so far. So I think they're going to be fine. I will come back and stake these guys. I'm not going to show that on this video, but the next video you'll see that they're all staked. They do need a little help to keep supported, especially that one right there. So I'll get some stakes and get those taken care of.